undermine our entire sanctions regime, because what's going to happen next time, Russia is pushing for something and we have to call his bluff. So I want to ask Minister Joly if she looked at any analysis and impacts this decision will have on Ukraine.
So thank you, James. Of course, we take into account Ukraine's reality when taking any decision. That's why Minister Wilkinson and I had contact with our counterparts. I even spoke to Dmytro Kuleba yesterday. He didn't raise the issue of the turbine when we discussed. The question was much more Ukrainian grains getting out of Odessa, making sure that there's more financial support to Ukraine directly as Ukraine is dealing with a currency that is obviously affected by the war. And so making sure that we provide us, but also other allies, more financial support. And at the same time, we talked also about military support. And you saw what the Minister of Defense announced today about the resumption of Operation Unifier.
And I welcome the resumption of Operation Unifier. I think it's necessary. But I'll say this:
Thank you.
Do you realize that this year, so far, Russia has only been able to generate about $95 billion from European gas sales. Last year, it was over $524 billion in sales to Europe. Do you realize, Madam Minister, that Gazprom is over 50% controlled by the Russian government? And Gazprom, a couple of years ago, had net revenues of over $123 billion American. So that means $62 billion is going back to Russia because they own 50% of the company, or over 50%. And we know that the Russian Federation's budget is over 45% made from oil and gas revenue. So did you consider that the dollars that Gazprom is going to get is going to go back to the Kremlin, going to help fuel Putin's war machine, like buying more AK-74 military rifles that go for about $800 a piece, or buy more cruise missiles and all the other artillery that's been fired into Kiev and around Ukraine that has already been estimated to cost over $80 million. And if we're going to give them $62 billion more, how much more damage is that going to entail upon Ukraine, and how many more lives are going to be lost? So I want to know how many Ukrainians have to die because of your government, this liberal government's enabling of Gazprom to put more money into Putin's war machine.
And I just take that question because I think, Mr. Bezan, you actually misunderstand a lot of the things that were going on.
Oh, not at all, Mr. Wilkinson.
The Ukrainian government actually proposed an alternative route for the gas to actually flow through Ukraine. That was their proposal. That would have had zero impact on the dollars that actually accrued to Russia, because it still would have been Russian gas that was flowing through the alternative pipeline. At the end of the day,
so let's say this, Mr. Wilkinson, as the minister responsible for natural resources, you're also responsible to make sure that we get more gas from Canada to replace that natural gas coming from Russia.
The European Union right now, then you need to be able to explain to the Germans and the French and the Italians how they're going to survive the winter. Like, it's very easy to make those kinds of comments. And I would say, perhaps you can put this on the record.
So then
if you're saying that the Conservative Party would not have returned the turbines, I think it's important for Canadians to understand that that's the position of the Conservative Party of Canada. Is that the position?
Well, I think that what you just mentioned is that Ukraine had another option. Why didn't you fulfill that option and sit on the turbines?
Because we actually did our due diligence, Mr. Bezan. We actually worked with the International Energy Agency to see how viable that option was. And it was not viable in terms of flowing the amounts of gas that would be required. It actually would require that we have faith in Russia that they would increase
Minister
the gas
Wilkinson,
flows
Minister Joly, let me ask you this question, Mr. Chair.
If you did your diligence on this question,
Mr.
Bezan, you would know that was not a viable
option. Mr. Bezan, you have the floor.
Thank you.
But I would just
say this. They're going to try to talk over me, Mr. Chair. They don't want to answer the questions. I want to know
is how many more. No, you didn't answer the question. What is the position of the Conservative Party?
I'm the one asking. I'm asking the questions here. You guys are the witnesses.
I'm sorry.
I'll just say this. How many more atrocities are you prepared to witness in Ukraine because of the extra dollars you guys are putting into Putin's war machine?
So, James,
first
and foremost,
I'm sorry,
we're all
Mr.
united.
Bezan.